Hello, good evening. I'm Riley Harvey for VCN, and this is the regular Thursday night PRT handicap race. We're not too far away from the start of the race now, just around about 5 minutes to go. This evening's race is on Dirty Reiver, and it is referred to as the Reiver Raven. 2 laps of a challenging course based upon the Kielder Reiver racetrack. It's an event that takes part every year around the Kielder Reservoir area of the UK, and presents an interesting challenge for many of the riders, in that it is the only track on RGT that the gravel actually represents a different resistance to the rest of the tarmac areas. So whilst it looks like a fairly innocuous course, it's not got too much elevation to it, and the climbs are not too long or aggressive. They are all gravel, so they do make much more of a difference than you would notice on many of the other roads. It does catch out quite a few of the riders, and with the handicap that the riders will have going into this event, I suspect a few more riders will be caught out by it as well. Looking forward to seeing how this race unfolds. So we'll be down on the track shortly. So we're down on the track now with 2 minutes and 26 seconds to go. You can see that starting out from this course, first thing that the riders come to is a slight climb. It's not too aggressive a climb. It is on tarmac as well, so it's slightly easier than some of the climbs later on this race. Looking at the base profile there across the bottom of the screen, you can see straight out the start gate into a climb, which will somewhat moderate the aggressive start that you get out of the start gates on RGT races, on turbo trainer races. And then we've got another climb not too much further into the race before coming through to that climb near the middle of the section. Now that climb is really an aggressive climb, given the gravel has a hairpin in it as well, and it's really going to be a place where you'll see a breakup of the field, and it'll be interesting to see how the whole differences in the terrains, the differences in the weights of all the riders is going to affect things. Andre Fugara was on the chat earlier on today. He's got 105 kilograms is his weight now. I think he's a slightly larger rider anyway, but he's carrying significant penalty going through into these races. His FTP's gone up over 335, I think he said today. Just a bit of a shout out for Lou Gelling there from Sean on the chat. We are live on YouTube, Facebook and Twitch. Twitch potentially offering some better quality of streaming, some better quality of the viewing experience. If you guys want to switch over to the Twitch stream to get it a little bit clearer, then you're welcome to. But we we're live on all these platforms, and we've got all the chat being fed back into one central location. So wherever you are, if you jump on the chat, send us a message through, we'll relay it on this stream, and we'll try and zoom in on your particular favorite rider, or explain anything that you might see on the screen that you're not sure about. We've got 3 seconds to go, and we'll be underway. We're with Lou Gelling at the moment, but we can see there some riders flying off the front. Kennedy, Broom, Andre Fugara that we spoke about just briefly a moment ago, Barker, Ben Lowe and Guy Hepner taking this race by the scruff and attacking from the outset. And we've got Darren Ray just up in front there. Darren Ray opening up a gap, gone off like a missile at the beginning of this course. Darren does this regularly, puts in effort from the very beginning. You can see all the power numbers for the riders there on the left hand side are red. Darren up at 5.3 watts per kilogram, and he's opened a little gap up on the riders before. Guy Hepner closing down 4.4, 4.7 watts per kilogram, with Barker, Bordak and Fugata there. Ben Lowe just dropping back slightly, gone down to 8th position now. As we see a group in there coming up to Darren, not letting him escape on this first climb. So as I say, this one is a tarmac climb. It's a little bit easier than the rest of the climbs on the course, but don't let the shortness of these climbs fool you. They are really difficult climbs, and they do over the course of 2 laps, they do take their toll on the riders. As we see Darren Ray being bridged up to there by Guy Hepner, Barker not too far behind, and Fordak and Usher and Fugata. The riders just engulf Darren there. Darren gives it another burst, himself back up in the front, and Vordak there takes off. So who that is, this Fugata there, not allowing Vordak to get away on the front there, gone up to his wheel. See this race now, just one climb already completely blown apart. Ben Lowe still in contact with this front group though, it's good to see. And we have a big gap there from 8th position back to 9th of Broom, and then we've got Twiddy. It's Twiddy's first race, I think his first handicap race. It might be the first race on the platform full stop. 10th position with Unsworth not too far behind. Drop back slightly, have a look at the battle that's going on behind there. We've got Broom in 9th position there, 80 metres up to the group in front. He's got Twiddy 80 metres just behind him. So Broom and Twiddy at the moment both in no man's land. Likely that they'll group up and become a pair. Kev Unsworth there, sorry, I think it's Kev, might be Carl, being chased down by Lou Gelling. Lou already up into 12th position. And go down into this group. We've got S4R3K just commenting that it's great viewing on Twitch. I don't use Twitch myself, and that very much. That's just out of habit, really. Tend to be YouTube. I am told by everyone that looks at the Twitch that it is significantly higher quality. So I think like a lot of people, we're just used to using YouTube, but Twitch offers a little bit higher in the resolution. Bellio, Ribbeck, Lou Gelling, Fernando Lightfoot and Mark Lightfoot, and then Wheeler just in this group with Gilbert just a little bit beyond. Oh, it's Shrek. I know, I can see that it's Shrek now. Sorry, Shrek's one of our regular riders on the PRT handicap races. Gilbert there. Dropping back, we've got Jay Grand, 24th position, in with a group of the bots. checking back to see if we've got any more real riders. Oh, there we go. We've got Paris, 55th position. And head up to the front of the race. Again, fly through these riders. Will Deegan there's just jumping in on the chat saying it's looking like it'll be a good race, but he's decided to enjoy a whiskey instead of taking part in the race. The way Will rides, he can enjoy a few whiskies and still be competitive. We've got Ben Lowe up on the front of this race at the moment now. Ben's quite often in the mix. I've seen Ben several times be competing for the win and just suffer with a small technical, whether it's been a power outage or chain drop, and just been knocked out of the racing, but he's up there at the front at the moment. Will Usher in this group as well. Will's been on holiday for a week. He's been skipping the racing, so we'll see how much energy he's bringing back into this race now. I don't think he's had a relaxing holiday as such, but I don't think he's spent much time on the bike, so the legs should be fresh. Barker just being dropped slightly. Coming back up on this group. And Twiddy and Unsworth, as predicted, if Twiddy's actually passed Unsworth. Unsworth's not been able to hold the wheel. Twiddy's 258 meters behind this group. Will's just nominated Guy for the win, so in true fashion that means Guy will have an issue and come about 50th. Seems to be the common theme. As soon as I say that someone's looking good, they lose the race. So we're just dropping into the gravel now, and this is where it becomes a little bit tougher. Even the green sections are tough on the gravel. There is a significant difference in the resistance, the rolling resistance on the gravel on these courses, and it's interesting to see the switch when you roll from the gravel sections into the tarmac. We'll get to see that on this race, it being two laps, and you'll see the effort put in by the riders drop as they go onto those tarmac sections. And Trek's giving a shout out for Ben Lowe with the Will Usher lead out. Will's just at the back. Just as we say that, Ben Lowe power drops momentarily, and he's just dropped out the back of this front group, and he's having to push hard to get back in there. He's back to the wheel of Will and over Will. I don't know if Will was just momentarily pausing for him there, seeing what's happened to Ben. Perhaps Will's looking for the combativity award again this week. Vordak just eases out into the leader. We're on a 6.3% gradient here, but as I say, these are steeper gradients, probably more like 10 with the gravel resistance added in. As Will's dropping back slightly now, pushes once again. Will riding without. Trek's just apologising to Ben there. He's the moment he's mentioned that he's got a chance of winning, he has a power outage. Noticing that Will's riding without heart rate monitor tonight. I don't know whether that's technical or whether he's just decided to go without. And Will is fading from this group. He's looking like he's dropping out of this lead group. Heard his name mentioned, and he's off the bike, it would appear. No, he's back on. Perhaps just had to jump off and grab a water bottle or something there. Once again, Will having his name mentioned in the potential results, instant issues. Unsworth and Twiddy closing in on Will now. Ben Lowe, distance now from this lead group, this main group at the front of the race. Got a 46 meter gap. We are just cresting on this difficult climb section. Darren Ray not too far in front of him there. I think Ben's still got a chance to get back up into the front of this race. Darren just put a little kick in to try and recover the front group, but quite an aggressive race going on in front of him now, with Hepner up in the front, Garda behind them, and I think it's Vordak on the front of the race. We just go through these rays of sunlight. It is a beautifully rendered course. The Reiver course. It's just amazing when you see how far into the distance the trees go, and little effects like the light, small little tufts of grass on the crown of these fire roads. They're just waving at you as you go past them. It's just fantastic to see, and shows really what guys, the artists in RGT, can do. I always look forward to the new roads coming out, but no rumours of any new roads just yet. There is a rumour of a update coming out soon. I'm hoping that we may see some Magic Road skins coming out. That's useful to the PRT handicap races. Darren there getting back to the wheel of Barker. His heart rate's only at 155 there, Darren. As he goes past Barker, Barker jumps onto his wheel. And they're scooping up Kennedy. Go past one of those log piles, which is such a common feature in the area where this has been rendered from. See any of your friends that go up riding in the area, they'll no doubt have a photograph of one of their bikes lent up against these log piles. Kennedy and Barker now move forward and drop Ray. They've got a gap now, a significant gap up to Vordak and Hepner and Broom, and Fugara has managed to stamp his mark on this race with a 54-meter gap now. 105 kilograms of Andre Fugara is making his way towards this next significant climb. So those who are new to this format, who aren't quite sure why it's called a handicap race, the riders adjust their weight in this race based upon their FTP. So Fugara's weight is 105 kilograms, and I think that relates back to his FTP, which, if I remember rightly, is around about 335 currently. So to get your weighting game, you take your FTP and you divide it by 3.2, and it'll give you your weight in kilograms. Now, it's important that you're doing everything in kilograms. If you're switching, if you're used to Imperial, you need to switch over to metric to make the calculation. So you switch your weight into kilograms, divide it by 3.2, and that will give you your weight for the game. You can switch it back to Imperial afterwards, so it's familiar to you, but you need to do the calculation in metric. And the idea of this is that it limits everybody's power to 3.2. As you can see here, that Fugara is pushing out 3.3, 3.5 sometimes. It's impossible to get it perfectly accurate. Riders can output different powers depending whether they're doing seated efforts or whether they're doing standing efforts, and it's basically it's a best effort. Theoretically, your average for the race would be 3.2 watts per kilogram. You might be able to output more than that on the significant climbs that we're coming into now. Then you'd have to recover on the descents, so that would bring your average down. And the reason this is done is that it allows a larger range of athletes to compete together. So we've got some of the riders from the PRT Precision Race team, coached athletes here who have got higher FTPs. They're racing more frequently, they're training more frequently, they're just stronger athletes. And we've got some other athletes who aren't able to train as thoroughly, race as frequently, might be slightly older or younger athletes. And this leveling of the playing field means that they're able to compete, race together, makes it more interesting for the elite athletes and makes it more interesting for those athletes who aren't able to race as frequently because they're able to stay in the mix. As you see, Heppner, Broom and Vordak here battling it out for what could potentially be second place honours here, because Fugara is chewing this race up. Heppner just goes towards this hairpin and a very nasty section of climbing just afterwards. I'm going to watch Fugara now as Heppner, sorry, as he comes around this corner. The gradient's going up. 17.8 we topped out at there. But don't forget, this is also on gravel. So as well as having those severe gradients, it's also got the resistance from the gravel. So that's more like a 20, maybe even a 22% slope there that we've just gone over. As Heppner has opened up a small gap on Broom. And Vordak is just slightly tailing off on Broom as well. Heppner now would be an ideal point for him to make the catch with Fugara. Fugara is, as I said, a slightly bigger rider. He's got a good solid engine, so on these green sections and this descending, it'd be a great rider for Heppner to work with and to open up this gap on chasing riders. See, he's going to make that catch with Fugara, and we'll see whether the pair of them will work together. We're nearly at the highest point on the circuit now. The majority of the riding from this point is downhill. Back to the start, and then we spin round and we attack it all again. Just looking down the standings there, we can see that Ben has recovered quite well. Ben Lowe, he's in 7th position. He's in the group of the chasing riders of Kennedy, Barker, and they're going to shortly catch up with Vordak. Fugara is just managing to stay away from Heppner here. But another small section of climbing. Checking up in the top left hand corner, you can see the power that the riders are putting out, but you can also see the heart rate there. Heppner's just going into his blue and green power bands, which are his easier FTP and below power bands. And he's now back up into the red and orange above his FTP as he's trying to make the catch on Fugara once again. And in the top right hand corner, you can see the orange. And you can see that the near areas, the more detailed profile map. And we can see that the orange is coming to an end, which is the end of this section of climbing, this time segment on RGT. And Heppner's just trying to time his effort to get to Fugara just before we get to there. Heart rate now just up at 166. Up to the wheel of Fugara, and going to shortly be enjoying some descending. I'd expect this pair to work together now on the flattened descent to open that gap up further, which is already crept up to 130 meters with Broom behind. And if they work together, they can really open up this gap. I expect that Guy will be keeping Fugara with him until probably this same point on the next lap, and I expect to see the attacks going in there. But we will wait and see. Could surprise us. Fugara could have a few more watts in the tank there. See Heppner, top left hand corner, just below the power, there's some green lettering, says saving of 62 watts there. RGT is a little bit individual in the training simulator market in that it's very accurate with its drafting, the drafting pocket. All of the riders have individual draft savings. You can see that Guy Heppner there as well. He was at 1 point saving 60, whereas slight incline, and the draft savings changed differently there. But it's great to be sitting into that drafting pocket and being able to save those big watts. We'll drop back through the rider and see how things are going on a little bit further down the course. See what battles are opening up. We've got Broom there. Managed to keep a big gap on Vordak there. Avoid that battling to stay away from the chasing group of Lowe, Kennedy and Barker. Ben Lowe, Kennedy, just slightly off their wheels at the moment is Barker, but I expect he'll get back in that group. Darren Ray. Darren just being slightly distanced from that front group and finding himself in a little bit of no man's land. 100-meter gap now to that group in front, and they're just around that bend that will still be within vision. I think they've just started increasing that gap as the descent's gone in. You will see, there we go, we can just about see them in the distance. Gap's decreasing there. They're hitting another little incline. A group will descend much quicker together than an individual, so it is important when you're in a race to try and make sure you get grouped up with some riders before you crest the climbs. Got Unsworth now in no man's land. Now with Twiddy partnering up with Usher there. Be interested to hear from Will what happened just in that early section of the race, whether he'd I was going to say he'd thrown a chain, but I don't think he can do. I'm sure he's on a Wahoo kicker bike now. Did had to jump off and grab a water bottle or something. Then with Fernando and Rebek. Mark Lightfoot just in between those two groups. Got Fernando and Rebek in front of him. And then chasing on, we've got Stephen Bellio and Lou Gelling. Lou in 16th position. Likely to recover some spots on the next go around of the climbs. Looks like Bellio and Gelling are going to recover the wheels of the group in front, which will be great for these riders to get some drafting on these flatter sections in this descent. Brand, a little bit isolated there, 370 meters back on those riders. Quite a few bots. And then we've got Gilbert and Parries. Gilbert just coming to the top of that difficult climbing section now. Alright, it's about half a kilometre back. In the middle of it. Just come around the hairpin. Dealt with that really steep section, that really aggressive section of hairpin, and battling. Around there, just 600 meters back from grouping in front. Fernando, Lightfoot and Bellio, who are descending a phenomenal rate now. speeds of 60km on gravel. Good going. Lightfoot just having to watch themselves there. They're getting distanced slightly. Once you have been dropped out of that drafting pocket, it is a heck of an effort to recover the distance. Usher and Twitty and down by the side, kill the reservoir. Roll by the side before we go over that iconic bridge. Just see in the distance there, yeah, a few pixels, but it's Darren Ray being closed down by Twitty and Usher there. Twitty, they're working together this evening, it would appear. Perhaps the battling will start on the second lap. Twitty's heart rate up there at 172, definitely putting in the effort. Got a cadence of 100 there. Spinning those legs furiously. Darren Ray just a little dot in the distance at the moment. But he's battling solo, trying to keep away from those two riders. Group now: Barker, Bordak, Unsworth, Kennedy, and Lowe. Barker suffering a little bit from the yo-yo effect. Don't know whether that's I'm sure Barker's a regular on the RGT platform, so I think he'd be used to the drafting. Maybe he's not as used to the gravel effect. Ben Lowe just pushing on the front of this group. No doubt a little bit annoyed at having dropped out that the mix for the podium with the kiss of death from Shrek. And then interestingly, we've got Hepner and Broom here have partnered back up together, and Fugada has opened up a gap of 245 meters, which I didn't expect to see happening. Once Hepner had got back to his wheel, I really expected that he would be holding it. Fugara is obviously on fire tonight. I'm going to jump forward to Fugara. Heart rate up at 169. He's riding on his max there. 400 watts briefly. We're in a slight climb section now. Lining up to the bridge. As I say, these sections in the top right hand corner, you can see the percentage of the slope. It's up at 6.8%, but you can add on a few percent every time you're looking at that because of this gravel disadvantage. Does slow the riders down significantly, make it more difficult for them to ride. Broom and Hepner behind. Dots just on that bend. 127 meters behind. Closing because of this gradient leading up to the bridge section. Yeah, just chugging away. Managed to eke out a lead. He's trying to let it go. Across the bridge. Happen at the end. Be able to see the other riders coming down that road. See how much the gap's open now. It's 290 meters now. There's a rider just went past. There's Guy Hepner, 335 meters beyond. Back under the bridge. Trees. One small section of climb before we head into the finish straight. It's only a small power lump, but it does add to the interest if we're heading towards a sprint finish, which I'm sure it will be in some of the groups behind. Gary now eases slightly on the power momentarily. Back on just slightly above his FTP onto the tarmac. I'll just do my advertising for the moment. If there's anybody watching that's watching for the first time, or you have been watching and enjoying the streams, if you just hit the like and subscribe button, it is nice to get those subscriptions up. And once we get past the 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, we do get a few pennies thrown at us by YouTube, enough to get a few penny chews, I think, at the end of the year. But does give you a small amount of encouragement to drag yourself out to do a stream and to give coverage to these events. See Fugara coming now onto the tarmac and towards the finish line. Much easier now. Power's dropped slightly. Readjusting to the new surface. Come through the start finish line. And it's at this moment that most of the riders will be saying to themselves, why do we have to do it again? Fugara riding solo, even though he's got a 280 meter lead at the moment. He'll have to put every effort in to keep those riders at bay. Two strong riders behind him, and Ben Lowe not to be written off today either. He's riding strongly. Group behind. Fugara just entering that first climb once again. Drop back to see Broom coming over the finish line. And Hepner threateningly close. It's Broom definitely not clear. Fred Hepner overhauling his second position there. These riders, there is significant gaps between them, but one good climb can close those down. See Vordak, Kennedy, Barker, and Lowe. Stretched out slightly here. Vordak into the tarmac section. Like in Kennedy, Barker, and Lowe there. Just a quick mention for the PRT Discord. There is a Discord group that is specific for this race, the PRT Discord group. It is advertised on pretty much all of the literature for this race. It's an open group. I encourage you, if you don't want to suffer in silence, you want to make sure that everyone knows that you're suffering and you want to get involved with the race on a larger scale. Perhaps you can team up with some of the other riders on the course and try and reel in another rider. It's a good Discord to get involved in it. If nothing else, it just reminds you that you're not alone suffering. You can hear everyone else panting and swearing away in the background. As Vordak now is pushing on in fourth position, being chased down by Kennedy, Lowe, and Barker. Unsworth has just dropped out of this group slightly. Kennedy there, heart rate up at 185. That's a good effort. Heart rate is very personal for all riders, but they're in the top end of things. Mark, and then we got Lowe, 7th position, but just Will Deegan just mentioned he's still holding the faith with Guy Hepner, and I think the guy's got a lot left in him for this second lap. Usher with Twitty there. Twitty just pounding it out on this tarmac climb. Darren Ray not too far behind that group of Twitty and Usher. Then with the group of Fernando, Rebek, Bellio, Lightfoot, Lou Gelling. They're not quite at the finish line yet, still just attacking that pre-finish lump. Got some gaps in between the groups tonight, so we'll get some coverage of these groups as they come through. Be able to focus on them for the last kilometre or so. Lou there with Stephen Bellio. There is obviously a podium race going on in this race, 1, 2 and 3. But there is also an award, combativity award, that's voted for by the riders from within the race and the viewers on YouTube, Twitch and Facebook. So if you see a rider that's doing a particularly awesome effort and you want to give them a shout out, then nominate them for the combativity award. Put them forward for that, and more important than winning, really, getting the combativity award, it's not just winning, it's getting the respect of your fellow competitors, much more important. We'll move forward and see how the race is progressing. We've got Fernando now just slightly eking out lead on this group. Darren Ray's fairly comfortably 445 meters in front. Got Twiddy and Usher working together in front of him though, so I'm not sure whether he's going to recover that group. I think if he carries on with the sort of pace that he's doing, he'll manage to hold away from the group in front. The group behind him, sorry, the chasing group of Fernando and Bellio. Usher and Twiddy working together as a pair. And with Unsworth isolated slightly now, he's dropped out from that group in front of Barker, Vordak, Kennedy and Lowe. Just slowly dropping back, 130 meter gap at the moment. He scooped up by Usher and Twiddy. Barker was yo-yoing a little bit earlier on. He's dropped out 75 meters gap now. Vordak, Kennedy and Lowe just stretched out now. An effort to recover Kennedy here now. He's only got 18 meters. Like he's going to get back to the wheel of Kennedy. Flat section now, so having somebody else to ride with will be quite important, saving those watts. Kennedy's eased slightly. Not going to be able to play about if they want to catch Lowe, because Lowe is putting in some effort now. I think Vordak wanted to just sit on the wheel of Kennedy and enjoy some respite, but Kennedy wanted to do the same for Vordak, so they're not going to make any progress quickly at that rate. Just looking at each other and waiting for the other to do the work, I think. Meanwhile, Ben Lowe has opened up a gap of 120 meters on them. Jump forward to Ben. Ben just keeping a steady effort. Feeling his heart rate monitor disconnected. It was pretty sure it was 134 last time around when we focused in on him. And in fourth position with Guy Hepner up in front. Oh. Will was given a shout out that he still had faith in Will Deegan. Will Deegan was given a shout out that he still had faith in Guy. But Guy just entering back onto the gravelled section once more. And Guy is now 400 meters behind Broome, and the best part is 600 behind Bugara. Bugara is already attacking that climb, so that's probably more like 650 meters. guy. Looking at his power band there, he's down in the pale blue, green power band. I think he's perhaps easing, waiting for low to catch him now. He's not riding to his max, that's for sure. Broom, second position. Big effort on this climb. 5.5 watts per kilogram. Broom. Trying to close down for Gerda there. He's got 320 meters to go. It doesn't look like he's going to catch Figara there. Figara. We're 49 minutes into the race. Figara still tapping out a good solid tempo here, high power on these climbs. And watch Fugata go around this punishing hairpin, and then we'll drop back to Broom and then further back to Hepner. Fugata gets prepared, hit this corner and these aggressive gradients. And it looks like comments coming in on the chat have ruined it for the riders. The rides of Guy and Ben Lowe both been given the kiss of death by the encouragement of their friends. Gradient just creeping up now. We're up at 3.7%. Feel just like a brick wall. Fugata comes round this corner. It's 17.8 first. Slows to a crawl. Down to 6.9 kilometers per hour. It continues at 12 plus gradients. Managed about 6.9 kilometers per hour on that steepest section. We'll drop back to Broom and see how he copes with this section of climbing. $268 watts there, down at 4.3 for a moment then. Oh, I think that's a missed gear for Broom there. Pushes round. Kicks up to 442 watts. And comes to a standstill momentarily. Back up and running. Gradient still up at 10%. Drop back to Guy Hepner. And Will is now switched his bet to Fugata. I'll have to see what fate befalls Andre now, as he's been gifted with the win. He's no doubt going to have an explosion of his turbo trainer or something now. Guy Hepner comes around that corner. Ramps the power up, 320 watts. Ben Lowe still not managed to quite close the gap on Hepner. I thought perhaps Hepner was slowing down for him, but Ben's not quite managed to close and catch. Not too far away though. You see Guy getting towards the crest of this climb. Crest of this first section. Dots of riders on the far side there coming up. Kennedy and Vordak there. See, Kennedy's quite close now to low, but I think as it flattens out and the speed of Ben increases, that's going to open that gap back up again. Kennedy in 5th position. Vordak in 6th. Barker and Unsworth not too far behind. David Brookhausen is just commenting it's going to be a close battle for 3rd. Twitty and Usher now 10th and 9th positions still together. Come into this climb, Usher pushes on. Constantly opening a gap of 25 meters on Twitty. Attacking this climb, Usher. Really holding the gap. 29, 30 meters. Just starting to increase now. Though she keeps the power on, Twitty's eased off slightly. Back with the group further down the road of Fernando, Bellio, Lubeck and Lou Gelling. Little group's been riding together most of the race. Interesting to see if any of them make a start for the win. Just ride it over the line together. Head back up to Fugata, who's now starting on the descending section. He's descended the biggest section of the descent. Need to get my thesaurus out some days. He's descended the biggest section of the course. That's what I wanted to say. Coffee's not quite hitting the spot today as it is usually. It opened up a huge lead now on Broome of 830 meters, and Broome's still managing to hold. He's got a gap of 1.2 kilometers on Hepner, which is just huge given the quality of riding that Hepner puts out. That's a massive distance for both these riders tonight. For the course obviously suiting Fugata's technique and style, and his particular weight penalty. Weight to power ratio. Broome there. Oh, Darren's giving a shout in on the chat as well. Hey Darren, aren't you supposed to be concentrating on riding? Or have you've not dropped out? Have you? I've missed you. Yeah. Just noticing, have you dropped out, Darren? I've been back through the field and spot you. Darren's just commenting that his internet's dropped out. So unfortunately, he's had to leave the race, which is always quite frustrating. With Broom in second position now. Snapping out steady. Wattage around about 280. Hepner, a surprisingly distant third position. He's 1.1 kilometers behind Broom. Still 430 meters in front of Ben Lowe, who is also... Oh, Ben Lowe's dropped power. Nope, he's not dropped power, he's just descending. Just having a break while he descends. There we go, he's back on it again. Darren's just saying he's going to take BT to court. He's a bit frustrated with the internet provision. Totally understandable. Touch Carbon. I've not had too many issues with my internet recently. Had issues with me messing things up, but the internet's been pretty solid. With Ben Lowe in fourth position now. Yep. Almost definitely his heart rate monitors lost connection tonight. It's still stuck at 134. Kennedy, fifth position with a gap on Vordak, 305 meters. Vordak just open a little gap on Unsworth of 83 meters. Unsworth clear of Barker. Well, Ryder's been surprisingly isolated this evening. He does have some aggressive climbs in it, this road, but I had expected there would be a bit more grouping. See Barker there is another rider. Just not likely to catch up with Unsworth in front, but significantly in front of Usher. 950 meters in front of Usher. Usher seemed to have a brief issue earlier on in the race as well. First 15-20 minutes. Between dropping out of that lead group. And his power's a little bit lower than I'd have expected from him, but as I say, he has been on the break, so perhaps he's just easing himself back into the racing. Twiddy in 10th position. And then the group of Fernando, Riebeck, Gelling and Bellio. Darren's just commenting the course quite tough to stay in the draft. I think that the gravel does have really quite surprising effects. It multiplies every little gradient and it's much more difficult to judge his drafting pocket. As Riebeck just makes a little jump away from this group, whether that's intentional or whether he's managed to hit the par. Different moments. Fernando drops out the back and has to effort to group back up. We're going to fly back up to the front of the race because it's not too far to go for Fugara now. Broom there, Fugara putting every last ounce of effort in now, with 3.3 kilometers remaining. 715-meter lead over the chasing Broom. Oh, Darren's commenting that it's his first ever DNF, which is a shame. RGT has evolved slightly in the last update, where the apps were changed from it being a 2-app system to being a 1-app. Basically all possibly controlled from your computer or your ATV or Android device. And it was a lot more, it is now a lot more forgiving if you have an internet drop. It used to previously just completely kick you out of a race, but now if you have an internet drop, it does give you a lot more chance to get back into the race. But it's not flawless. If you may not be able to get in all the time. Fugara comes up to this last of the significant climbs at 7%. Barring a major technical, we would expect that Fugara is going to make it over the line. In first position, 2.5 kilometers remaining. Past all those U-Perform fences. $430 watts there briefly. Heart rate up at 185. Respite into the descent. The bridge. Keel the water. See the road clear behind Fugara there. Already taking a breath. I think that this is one of the most detailed of the RGT courses. It's not only most populated with trees, but there are quite a few little roads and offshoots that you can see on the course. Quite a lot of the other courses don't show those little extra bits. Round and we are now coming up to final lump, little power climb before the finish. Say, I think as the groups come through, well, there's only one group left on the course. As the group on the course comes through, that'll be the final little battle point, I think. Alright, just easing slightly now. 1.25 kilometers back to Broom. Right now, significantly easing. Confident of his win on this race. 10% gradient. Now virtually coast to the finish line and still win this. Only 600 meters left. Will was right. Gada has taken the victory on this race in fine style. Having recently increased his FTP and his weight penalty. Onto the tarmac. Final time. Takes the start finish line. Fantastic. Got back to Broome. Broome just on that last aggressive lump. $130 meters remaining for Broome now. Leans into the handlebars and puts an effort in. $90 meters to the finish line. He's over in second place. Guy Hepner now. Guy comes over the line in 3rd position. Congratulations are coming in for Fugado over the chat. Ben Lowe making a valiant effort, but still not quite able to close the gap back to Guy. Ben onto the tarmac section. 190 meters left to go. Great ride from Ben after that earlier pause. Surely worth a vote for the Combativity Award. Dunsworth in 5th position, 218 meters in front of the nearest competitor. As I say, it's a very fragmented race this evening. There's a lot of the riders have just been virtually doing an individual time trial. As Unsworth comes onto the tarmac. And Will Deegan's commenting that he's never going to give the kiss of death again to Guy. Do it so frequently myself. Pick a rider out on the start line who's looking good, who's had some good results recently, and then as soon as I mention the name, they disappear. Unsworth comes over the line, 5th position. Bordak, who was up at the front of the race, challenging for the lead earlier on, is now in 6th position with 420 meters to go. Over that final little lump, pushes on, distancing Kennedy, and he's sprinting now for the finish. The power on. He was keeping the power on. It seems to have gone slightly intermittent for Vordak there. Comes over the line in 6th position, ahead of Kennedy. 7th, 220 meters ahead of Barker. Barker just enjoying a brief respite on the descent. Kennedy home. Oh, Barker has come to a standstill. It's not good for Barker. Power peaked, as you can see in the top left hand corner there. His power peaked and then dropped off rapidly, which often is a sign of a dropped chain. See if Barker's getting his fingers oily, throwing that chain back on. Closed down by Usher and Twiddy. Usher's about to come around that corner any second. There we see Usher. Barker's not back in the event. It comes past Barker. Usher comes through to claim 8th position. Claims a position from Barker there, who was unfortunately not restarted. Usher's coasting the next 21 meters to the line. Comes over with 0 watts. I have a feeling that Usher didn't really want to take that position there from Barker. As Twiddy comes over, 10th position. That's Barker. And Twiddy, 70 meters remaining. And with the group of Riebeck, Fernando Bellio and Lou Gelling. Fernando's broke away from that little group. There's Andre Fugara's come in on the chat on the Facebook, and he's today it was my day. The strategy worked perfectly. And Darren Ray's saying Happy Easter, everybody. And yeah, I mirror that. Happy Easter, everybody. I hope you're enjoying the extended weekend break. I hope you are lucky enough to have the full weekend and not have to work. As Fernando makes a jump now. Fernando breaks away from that group that he's been working with all evening with 230 meters remaining, and Fernando has opened a gap up of 100 meters. Barker just in front of him. He's past Barker. Barker still unfortunately not underway, as Bellio is making an effort now with Lou Gelling. Fernando pushes on up at 5.4 watts per kilogram. Comes around the corner and under the flag. It's Bellio and Lou Gelling now with Riebeck just behind them. Who's going to sprint first? As Bellio comes over the line. It doesn't look like it was contested there by Lou at all. And Riebeck comes over in 13th position. It looks like those riders had just made an agreement to ride together to the line. Dropping back now. The other riders further back on the course. So we've got Grand in 50th position here. Just Andre Fugara is just saying his tactic was not to give any draft to anybody on the descent. He was carrying an extra. I'm not sure if I know you're 105 kilograms tonight, Andre, but what's your usual weight? How much extra weight were you carrying tonight? Descending on RGT, you can massively drag a lighter rider along and give them the benefit of your descending draft, and then they basically blast past you on the next climb. So Andre's been carrying an extra 15 kilograms around with him tonight. It's a bit of significant drag, 15 kilograms. This Grand's got 4 kilometers left to go. And drop back to Gilbert. Or Gilbert. I think Gilbert's probably Gilbert is more of a French pronunciation. Gilbert, PRT. What am I doing with the French accent? David Brookers in saying great riding, everybody. Gilbert is 50th position and rolling strong. Heart rate of 140. 6.2 kilometers remaining. So it's been a great ride tonight. It's been great watching everybody battle it out on Dirty Reiver course. It's one of the RGT courses, one of the RGT real road courses based on real events, real courses around the UK. And it's pretty accurately drawn. If you ever head up that way and have a look at the course, you'll see that it's fairly lifelike. We're going to end the stream here. Just one final. If you are watching, if you can hit the like and subscribe. Will Deegan saying that I'm sounding somewhat like Del Boy with a Monge 2. Yeah, I don't know where the accents come from now and again. It's not my strongest suit. Keeps me entertained anyway in my little room on my own, talking to myself for hours on end. As Gilbert comes over in 50th position, and one final look at Grand, 49th position. Going to play you out with some trailers for the VCN TTT, so the VCN Team Time Trial. Those who are astute will have noticed that it's getting slightly old now, the VCN TTT video. We are nearly up with a new series of events on the VCN TTT. If you're not already involved, it's a great event to get involved with. Lots of group riding, lots of camaraderie, and it's just a good training session. You know, you can get yourself up at FTP for near an hour and do a really good training session, but there's a lot of fun that goes around it as well. Gets you to meet some people around the RGT world that you can get in and train with, and quite often it forms teams in the other events that go on in RGT. And we're also going to play you out a trailer for the PRT rewards, which I've not mentioned for a little while, but as part of PRT, Will has created the rewards system, and effectively it's basically discounts for free. So you just sign up with your email, and you can quickly get yourself a 10% discount off a U-Perform. Well, get varying levels of discount, but there's Talk Fitness, so you can get gels, you can get discounts off Wahoo, Hube, wetsuits, all sorts of different things, different levels of discounts depending on how much you sign up for. If you wanted to, say, make a big purchase of a specialized bike, you can sign up for one of the premium memberships to the scheme, which there is a charge, a monthly charge, but for what you save in the discount, it's you're buying a £1,000 bike, you can save your monthly discount and then just cancel it at the end of the month. But I hope you've had a great stream. I hope you're all looking forward to a fantastic Easter weekend with what's promising to be great weather, and I'll catch you all next week, if not before. Have a great time.